Hello everyone, what is going on? Today I'll be predicting the 2021 Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, this is my very first video on YouTube, so I'd appreciate it if you give a sub and like to the channel. Anyways, let's begin. I will start off with the North Division. Now for the Toronto and Montreal series, I believe the Canadiens will upset the Toronto Maple Leafs in 7 games. I believe the Canadiens can upset the Maple Leafs because if you look at Toronto's last few playoff series, they always choke in game 7s. And unlike the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Canadiens have very stacked goaltending in Jake Allen and Carey Price. While the Toronto Maple Leafs goaltending has been very questionable this year, that's why I think the Canadiens will upset the Toronto Maple Leafs in 7 games. Now for the Edmonton and Winnipeg series, I see no chance for the Jets to win because the Edmonton Oilers have Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid, and those two men alone could easily defeat the Winnipeg Jets because the Jets have been very mediocre this season, and I just don't think with what they had could defeat the Oilers, so that's why I predict the Edmonton Oilers will sweep the Winnipeg Jets. Now, for the Montreal and Edmonton series, I believe the Oilers will defeat the Canadiens. This is because, even though the Canadiens have a stacked team, I just think with all the power Edmonton has, they could crush the Canadiens. However, I do think with the Canadiens' stacked goaltending, they could try to pull off an upset. But as of now, I think the Oilers will defeat the Montreal Canadiens. Next, I'm going to do the East Division. Now, for the Penguins and Islanders series, this one is very tough for me to answer. However, I do believe the Penguins will defeat the Islanders in 7 games. Even though the Islanders have a really great team, I just think the Penguins just have a slightly better roster and slightly better goaltending. However, I would completely understand if many people did believe the Islanders could win. However, I believe the Penguins will be able to defeat the Islanders in 7 games. Now for Washington and Boston. This one is an interesting series. It's going to be Zdeno Chara going against his former club. And this one is a very tough one for me to judge. However, I do believe Boston could knock out the Capitals also in 7 games. This is simply because Boston acquired Taylor Hall, and Taylor Hall has been a stud for the Boston Bruins. If Boston never acquired Taylor Hall, then I do believe Washington would win. But as of now, I do think the Bruins will defeat the Washington Capitals in 7 games. Now for Pittsburgh and Boston. This one is tough for me to answer, but I do believe the Boston Bruins will be able to upset the Penguins. And the reason I think this is simply because I just think Boston has way more talent and better players. They have Brad Marchand, they have Taylor Hall, previously mentioned, they have Patrice Bergeron, Tuukka Rask. I just think the Boston Bruins will be able to defeat the Penguins. Now on to the Central Division. For the Carolina-Nashville series, I see no chance at the Predators winning this series. The reason for this is simply because the Predators are not the team they used to be. They're not the team that went to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2017. They're not the team that won the President's Trophy in 2018. They're a washed-down version of themselves. And that's why I do think the Hurricanes will easily defeat the Predators. Like, the Hurricanes have so much more talent than the Predators. They're a young, hungry team that's looking to make a deep run to the playoffs. So I think the Hurricanes will sweep the Nashville Predators. Now for the Florida and Tampa series. This one will be a very tight series and very fun to watch. But at the end of the day, I do think the Lightning will defeat the Panthers in 7 games. Simply due to the fact the Lightning just have more playoff experience this decade. I mean, it's not to say the Panthers are a bad team. They are an excellent team. they actually finished 4 points above the Lightning this year. The only reason I just don't see them winning is simply because the Lightning have way more playoff experience this decade. However, if the Florida Panthers play out of their mind, I do think they could upset. But at the moment, I do believe the Panthers will lose this series to the Lightning in 7. Now for Carolina and Tampa, I believe the Lightning will defeat the Hurricanes. And the reason for this is simply because most of the team they had for the 2020 Stanley Cup run are still there, and they're still really great. And this time they have Stamkos on the roster. So because of this, I do think the Lightning will upset the Hurricanes. However, if the Hurricanes just also play out of their mind, they could upset the Lightning. But at the moment, I do think the Lightning are the favorites to win. Now on to the very last division of our video, the West Division. For the Avalanche and Blues series, I believe the Avalanche will defeat the Blues in 6 games. The Avalanche have won the President's Trophy this year, and they have been looking absolutely phenomenal. However, the only reason I don't see them sweeping is simply because the Blues have just had a lot of playoff experience this decade, unlike the Avalanche. And most of the Blues players that were on the 2019 Stanley Cup roster are still there. So I do think the Blues could put up a fight, but I think the Avalanche at the end of the day will win. Now for the Vegas and Minnesota series, I see the Vegas Golden Knights taking down the Wild in 5 games. And this is because the Vegas Golden Knights have just had way more talent. They have Mark Stone, Robin Lehner, Marc-Andre Fleury, Jonathan Marchessault. It's just, compared to the Wild, the Golden Knights have just had more talent on the roster. Now, Kaprizov has been looking like a god this year, and he will win the Calder, but I just don't think that alone could defeat the Vegas Golden Knights. Now for the Avalanche in Vegas series, this one will be a really tight one. These two teams have literally the exact same points in the standings this year. But at the end of the day, I do think Vegas will be able to upset the Avalanche. And the only reason I think they can do this is simply because the Vegas Golden Knights, I just think they have better goaltending than the Avalanche. I just think Lehner and Fleury are just better netminders than Philip Grubauer. Not to say Grubauer's bad. He's been excellent this year. But he ain't no Lehner or Fleury. I just think with the goaltending, the Golden Knights could upset the Avalanche. However, I completely understand if you think the Avalanche will upset the Golden Knights. Now we're off to the Final Four. The Golden Knights versus the Oilers and the Lightning versus the Bruins. I'm going to start with the Golden Knights and Oilers. I believe the Golden Knights will defeat the Edmonton Oilers. Now, the reason I think the Golden Knights will defeat the Oilers is simply because the Golden Knights just have much, much better talent than the Oilers. Yes, the Oilers have McDavid and Draisaitl, but the Golden Knights just have just more better players on their team. They have Marchessault, Riley. They have, again, Lehner, Fleury. They also have Mark Stone, who has been absolutely great this year. I just think the Golden Knights will be able to defeat the Oilers. I just think the Oilers' 2 great players in McDavid and Draisaitl won't be enough. Now for the Lightning and Bruins. This one is tough for me to call, but I do think the Boston Bruins will defeat the Lightning. And the only reason I think that is because I just think the Bruins have what it takes to defeat the Lightning. They have excellent goaltending, excellent forward power, excellent defensemen. Not to say the Lightning don't have that. I just think the Bruins, with their gritty play, fast, exciting play, will be able to knock out the Lightning. Now for the final 2, the Golden Knights in Boston. Now, who do I think will win the 2021 Stanley Cup? I believe the Boston Bruins will win the 2021 Stanley Cup. The Bruins have been great this year. They've had excellent talent. They've made an excellent trade to acquire Taylor Hall. Not to say the Golden Knights haven't been good this season, they've been outstanding, but I just think the Bruins will be able to get it done over the Golden Knights. Now, I understand if you think the Golden Knights will defeat the Bruins. However, I just think with the Bruins' talent, they will win the Stanley Cup.